what a day. Every episode starts out with, oh my God, what a day.
Except for now it's hot.
Anybody ever recorded out of a laundry room before?
No.
With the dryer on?
I actually recorded 2 songs in here.
Oh, that's right. Miles used to live in this room.
I recorded 2 songs for the homie Brian. Shout out to Brian.
Sup, Brian?
I'm right here.
Hey, welcome
dude.
to another episode of This Is Our Normal Podcast. I'm your host, Saul Jones. I'm sitting here, as always, with my lovely co-host, Brian Hoodie.
That's me.
Don't call him Sweatshirt.
Just don't do it.
And our audio engineer, Miles Williams.
Yo.
Sup,
What's
Miles?
good?
And then our guest, James. What's your last name, man?
Green.
James
like
Green.
The color.
I could
Cool.
have told you that
Cool.
because I used to work with them.
Yeah, what are the
Isn't
odds of that?
funny?
So before we get started, Miles?
What do we usually do before we get started?
Well, you know, there's a couple things we like to go over a little bit. And first thing we like to... Why don't I hear it? Did you not put it in?
No, it's fading in.
Okay.
It's a long fade.
All right. Before we get started, I just want to remind everybody, go to our website at thisisournormalpodcast.com. There's everything you need to know about us on there. Links to iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music. You guys know the deal. And as always, this podcast is brought to you by Serenity Sober Living down in South Orange County. If you are looking for sober living and you're a man, give us a call. If you're a woman, houses starting in September. And if you come right now, you get to live with me. I'll be your house manager. But back to our lovely show. So James Green, right on, man. Welcome.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
on the show. And last minute too. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
thank
dude,
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So you're Miles' house manager, right?
No, I just live with him.
Oh, you just live with him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
He just
You have to
carries
live with
himself
him?
that way.
Yeah. No, that's it. Yeah. I've never got that before, but no.
So you're in sobriety then too. You're in sober living. Do you have any funny stories from? I like to start out kind of light. You got any funny stories from either using, getting clean, going to treatment? Just something a little silly.
Okay, so I have a lot of them, but something happened recently. I'm trying to think.
I mean, I told a story on the first episode. I was using methamphetamine, and I had the psychosis had set in so bad. I was running from the voices. I ran all the way down to accidentally went into Mexico, smuggled drugs in there.
Damn. Nice, dude.
You accidentally smuggled drugs into
It was
Mexico.
an accident, bro.
It really was.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
I
dude.
got-
And he wanted
I'm
to
sure
bring
the
them
cops
back.
just let you off with a warning.
Wanted to. I brought them back, bro. So this is all alleged, right? In
Right.
case anybody's
Oh, yeah.
listening. But I hit the
Statute
border
of
and I was
limitations.
I hit the border.
You know what
I'm like, I stayed at Border Patrol. I'm like, dude, how do I not go in here right now? And the dude was like, he's all, no, you got to go all the way in, come all the way back out. I look on my seat. I got a safe full of methamphetamine and anabolic steroids sitting on the seat. And I'm not gonna get rid of them, right?
Yeah.
Sounds like my kind of party.
Smuggled them. I made it back alive. So we're in
Fuck
good
yeah.
shape.
Yeah, here he is.
Nice.
Weird.
That's a lot better than mine, dude. I was
what
like,
you got?
Yeah,
I just
way to
fucking
shit all over every story ever.
that's a good turnout, man. That's a good outcome in that situation.
Certainly.
I got lucky.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, I did similar on meth, like running from sensors in my dad's yard and got poison ivy. Like I was like running from the
Fuck yeah.
fucking
Did you get away?
Motions?
dude. No, like mind sensors that were like trying to like fuck with my brainwaves.
Even
And
better.
like, yeah, dude. I was like, and I thought I was doing like meth and ecstasy, like Molly, like
Go
for a
on.
whole week, and I was just fucking at this point. Dude, it was bad. I was
So you're up
talking
for
to
like,
people
what,
that
4
were
or 5 days or something?
Yeah, it's about dude. It was ended in about 10 days, and I don't know if this was
Okay.
probably day 5, but
The mind sensors make sense now.
yes, dude. I was fucking avoiding them, crawling through trees and shit, like fucking like on the border of my man. I ended
Hell
up getting
yeah.
poison ivy all over me, but that was just like
Dude,
the
Here's-
beginning.
what did we
Really,
learn today?
Here's
Yeah.
the question I always have with that kind of stuff. I did crazy shit, and the story that I had just told, like, you know, that's just one of many, and I just happened to go into treatment 3 days after that. But, like, how long after that? Because all this shit seems so normal to us, right? Like, most people would be like, oh, I need help after some of this shit. But, like, how long after before you went and got help?
dude. I was at that point. I still was tripping, and my concern wasn't really help, it was still avoiding like the fucking CIA and the people that were driving down my street to watch me. I mean, like, it went on for another week probably. And at that point I made it to treatment because I was trying to like escape Texas, and it was like it was like my only option.
An operation.
And yeah, that too. Yeah, I like, dude, it was crazy. But this was just, I mean, I ended up using several times after that, but
was meth your DOC, or did you use other stuff?
Yeah,
too?
meth and opiates, like pain pills and stuff, but and heroin, but mostly meth. That's what took me down every time.
Yeah, well, see, the same thing with me. It was like I could handle the opiates and kind of fly under the radar a bit. I could work on opiates a bit, but then once I started doing meth, it's like so apparent so
every
fast.
time.
You know?
Yeah, that's what takes me down every time. Like,
It's bad. It's all bad.
And the weight loss for me, dude, I got down to 125 pounds. I'm 6'1". Like,
damn.
Yeah, and you thought you looked good.
Don't get me wrong, I still look
Still
good.
look.
That's gnarly, dude.
No, it
That's
gets
fucking
gnarly.
gnarly.
So, what kind of so obviously the psychosis, but what other kind of negative things was the drugs doing to your life? What was it taking from you? How was your life before using?
Before using, I mean, I started using at like 12, and from the beginning, it was mostly problems. I just like couldn't stop. I had to be high on something. From that day forward, pretty much. I tried to stop it, but
I can definitely relate to that, man.
You
just
start
needed
with the
something.
Usual suspects, what, weed and alcohol, or what?
Yeah, weed and alcohol. But as soon as I tried weed, I remember actually thinking to myself, like, I wonder what heroin's like. Like, they say it's not. Like, I would have wanted to do it regardless, probably. Like, I thought it was like, you know, I just wanted to experiment. You know, it's just
that's
good old jump from weed to heroin.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's why I always go back to like it's not that we're just addicts, because addiction is a symptom of what our real disease is which it's an impulse control disease. So the impulse has been there your whole life. It wouldn't have mattered, you know, had you tried other stuff before. It's like, I just have an impulse to try shit.
Yes.
And it just happens to be when you try it on drugs, the side effects and the symptoms become so apparent, and it's so bad so quick. Right. You know? And if you're lucky, they're quick. You know, sometimes it drags on. I got some buddies that are alcoholics that have passed away from like cirrhosis of the liver, and it's like that was a long, painful, miserable thing. You know, we are lucky in the sense when we're addicts that when we do unfortunately pass, sometimes it's quicker. You know, I mean, I know that's a horrible thing to say, but that's the truth. A little bit.
No, that's true, man. I mean, it. For me, like I was in treatment for the first time at like 15. You know, so. Yeah. It was good that their consequences were, I mean, it was not like fun with problems. It was like fun with problems, and then just, you know, problems basically ever since, you know, like I got sober at 19 for a couple of years, and then,
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did. And then I started using again, and so.
Yeah. What was that like?
It was like, it was good experience. I caught up with myself. I mean, I caught up with a lot of people that weren't in my situation, like went back to school, I had a job, like started working out and like doing things that I probably would have done if I hadn't wasted that much time on drugs or with those consequences. And it was a good thing because now I kind of have something to measure this sobriety off of, because like I had a really strong program. Yeah. So it's like I know it worked then.
Well, and you don't lose any of that. You know, I know a lot of people have like, I had this much clean time. Like you said, what was it, 2 years?
2 years.
So 2 years clean time, which congratulations on that, because you don't lose that time. Yeah. You know, you lose the number, the in a row bullshit, but you still had that clean time, and you still have everything that you learned from that time. And just like, you know, the disease progresses, so does the treatment, you know, so does the recovery.
Yeah. And you don't lose it, but if you don't mind me asking, what ended up happening to take you back out?
So I actually, I was on interferon treatment for Hep C. It was when I was 21.
Okay.
I got Hep C in one of these programs I went to in New Mexico. I went there for like 2 years, and
shouts to getting Hep C in New Mexico.
Yeah, dude.
How did
it's a very
niche.
Bro.
Dude, we don't skim over shit on here. How did that shit happen?
All right, so check it out. I fucking went to this program in New Mexico, and it was a total like scam, man. Like they basically just housed you, and then it was like, you know, there weren't many staff members, dude. We literally like No, my parents paid cash. Actually, man, it was one of those long term. I was there for 2 years, dude. Yeah, I was there for 2 years. But this is a crazy story. Actually, like,
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
we fucking that time I literally we had robbed the med room at that program.
Damn.
As
they
one
had-
does, fresh into rehab.
Yeah, no, there was like they
What'd
just started
you get?
bringing in
Hit the
people
med
like
room? Were you
Adderall.
masked up?
No, dude, no, that we just
Masked
with a
up.
ruler,
What
dude.
is that?
Masked.
Oh, masked up.
I guess
I'm
not
sorry.
robbed, yeah, but we
I'm
like
sorry.
broke in, you know, and
Yeah.
there was like a duct tape like med cabinet, like
So-
you could easily just pull the thing out. But
Going into
yeah.
that, because I had a buddy rob one of the other rooms at the treatment facility I was in Vegas. He robbed the room for gabapentin of all things.
Oh my
How'd that
God.
work
And,
out for him?
They let him
to
go,
jail.
but the marshals came and picked him up.
Damn.
But he did, he put gloves on, so he thought he was going to get away with no fingerprints.
Damn.
Yeah, the cameras can't see your fingerprints.
But my point was, he was just stealing gabapentin. What were you after? Like, what was
So
it specifically
they
that
had-
you wanted, and what'd you get?
So they had Klonopin and Adderall, dude, and we did it twice. The first time, I just grabbed 2 sheets of Adderall, and it was like a shit ton of Adderall. I mean, this guy
they
took
were-
like
they were in the
90
sheets, like, the
milligrams a day
individual-
of the.
The
Yeah.
one day pack. Okay.
Yeah, he had like the bubble packs, but he took 90 milligrams of the 10 milligram.
The 10.
The 2, yeah, man. I took 54 of them that day, and then my friend took like 70.
Fuck.
The next time we did it,
Ingested
we
that
took
many?
everything.
Or stole
Holy
them.
Ingested them, dude. Like I was fucked off, dude.
Wait
But
a
this isn't
sec.
even where the Hep C happened.
Wait,
this
wait,
is
wait,
like the
though.
precursor to the Hep C.
Why were they? This is a treatment facility. Why is
It's a
anybody
scam,
on
dude.
Adderall?
Well,
because it's
no,
the
it wasn't
scam.
really a
It's all
treatment
scam.
center. It was
Okay.
like a therapeutic boarding school is what it was called. So they had people. Some of them were there on Adderall and Klonopin, and like
Gotcha.
there were people there that weren't addicts. You had like everyone. It was just like a.
Okay,
it
that
was
makes
fucked
more
up,
sense.
man.
Free for
Honestly,
all.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
free for all.
huh?
Yeah, it was a
Trap
trip,
house.
man.
So okay,
It was
wait.
like on a ranch, dude. We like worked on a ranch, like
Oh, one of
fucking.
them.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
one of those, dude.
So you
yeah.
you guys get the pills, you get all that, you take a bunch of them,
Yeah.
and then where you go from there?
So that I got pretty fucked up, and like I actually was like got sick, because I took
I'd
so many. Like, I
imagine.
can't even see them now, and I get sick just looking
Could
at
you
them.
imagine?
Dude, I took more the next time. Like my friend was like, he was 22, I was 17. He'd been like coming from like smoking crack, like doing, like I wasn't there yet at the time, and he like. The second time, he was like, "Why'd you only take 2 sheets, man? Like nothing happened."
only.
Yeah.
Only
And I was
2
like, I didn't know. I didn't want to get caught. He was like, they count them every day. So I was like, I don't know. So
Yeah.
this time he took everything, all the Klonopin, and this was stacks
shit,
and stacks,
bro.
dude. And we got fucking really lit that time. Like he handed me, I came back because I went to I don't know, man. It's a long story. Oh yeah, I got Hep C in between the second time. I got Hep C in between the second,
Okay.
whatever,
But,
burglary.
so
So
wait,
you hit the lick twice. is
So
what you
yeah,
said.
Yes,
Oh,
he
okay.
did. He did while I was gone. So while I was all fucked up, and we had my friend had come in with a bunch of Klonopin as well, and he was like giving them to me. I just met him, and I was like, "Let me get one more," and he was like, "No,
As
like
one
I've already
does.
given you too many," and I was all barred out, and I just didn't give a fuck. And he was like, "If you can get me a rig, like." I'll fucking, because he thought you could shoot him if you boiled him down with alcohol or something. So
Can
I was
you?
like,
wait, can you?
I don't know. I mean, this
That's a good question.
Theoretically,
tried,
let's not find out.
yeah, so I literally went to the director. I had the keys to everything, dude. Like this guy, it was snowing and he got his car stuck. He was one of the night staff. He had dropped the keys to everything there, and somebody else had we basically just had the keys to all the cigarettes, like all everything. So I was,
Place, it wasn't
but we,
free-for-all.
oh, dude, it was such man, it was ridiculous. I
debauchery.
literally go in, just packs of cigarettes, man.
My God.
That was our incentive to do stuff with cigarettes. Like you could be 16 to 25 there,
Right.
and they were like giving them six,
So
so it was total bullshit.
So
but-
wait, so you got the Hep C from using a needle from somebody else that also had
So,
Hep
dude,
C?
I got he had the guy with the Klonopin had Hep C, but I basically broke the door down to the director's office and he had a fucking horse syringe in there. Like we were trying to find, we thought we could
Oh,
find
'cause
an
it was a
EpiPen.
ranch.
Yeah, and it was like a horse
Oh,
syringe.
shit.
So
Don't
we
do
used
it.
that and hand
Oh, shit.
sanitizer. This is a stupid ass story, man. And
This is
dude,
what people need to hear. They don't realize the shit because that was probably normal to you at the time.
I was just fucked up. Yeah, I was
what
still
we
up,
do.
dude. Yeah, I mean, like I was just fucked up, and this was like before actually doing like real drugs. Like
Yeah.
I had done like coke and everything, but anyway.
Yeah.
I tried. We tried to shoot up the Klonopin, and my friend did it. We went from the person that they knew didn't have Hep C to the person that might to the person that did, and then there was
logic.
another
I
round.
call that addict math.
Yeah, dude, yeah,
You have it. You go. You don't. You go first.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
If we botch that, who cares?
yeah, dude. No, the next time around,
Fuck it.
Right?
yes, dude. No, the next time around, I knew I was we rinsed it
That's
out,
fucking funny,
and I was
bro.
like, fuck it, dude, and I did it
Yeah.
anyway, and I gave myself Hep C,
man.
dude. So yeah,
Oh
Well,
shit.
and I didn't even get dude. I knew it too. I was just like really like I don't care about anything, you know. I was depressed, dude.
No,
Like, I
there's
was
a
really
way.
depressed.
There's a way to cure that now, right?
Yeah, I'm actually cured. I went through that
Oh, nice.
interferon,
Yeah.
but
Nice.
and that shit was like
Essentially
way
eradicated.
Was that the one
stronger.
where they like pay you and shit?
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
paid, but this was before the new
Up in
treatment.
LA?
They
No,
still do
no.
that? Do they still pay people to?
Okay.
Do? No, to
No.
get the treatment.
Oh, I thought you were inquiring.
I'm inquiring so that if there's people listening, they know
Oh,
about
yeah.
this because
Good
it's an
question.
important
Yeah, he's
program.
asking for a friend.
Yeah, man. I swear it's for not me.
Yeah.
No, but so tell me a little bit about this program because that's important for people to hear.
So this was before Harvani and all the new treatment. It was the old fashioned. I was in the control group, but I got paid like $75 a month to get the control, which was like just interferon, which is like basically it's chemotherapy. It's like an old chemotherapy. I had to
Damn.
like give myself a shot like once a week, and I took these pills.
How
And,
long? How long did you do that for?
It was supposed to be for 6 months, but there are a lot of side effects, and they like within 2 weeks I was actually cured. But
what side effects did you experience while you were on
so
it?
like rage, like you go severe like
Rage.
depression, anxiety. You can't eat, you can't sleep. It's like you
Damn.
have the
Wow.
flu. I mean, it's literally like chemo.
They're like, we're gonna put you in a state of withdrawal for about so
6
many
months.
6
Yeah.
months.
It
Jeez.
was exact, and I hadn't really gone through withdrawal before, but I went through that for like
So you were experiencing all of that.
and I was
Oh,
in
shit.
sobriety this time, like or that time, and after about a couple months, I was like, I was doing all the things I was doing before, but I didn't
Dude,
have a strong fellowship, you know.
Props to you for being able to go through that sober and not use on it.
Right.
Because as an addict, when we feel any type of sick type feelings, our go-to, our coping mechanisms always go use,
Well, I did use this was
Okay.
because this was years ago,
Yeah.
I ended up after about a month and a half, I got real sick. I started smoking weed because I thought it would help. I just was real depressed, like really not spiritual. I was losing all this weight. I was like real like ripped before that, and I started smoking weed, and I ended up just spending my money that I'd saved from work because I couldn't work anymore because I was all sick. So I just started spending it on weed and like alcohol, and
Okay.
eventually, about a year later, I started doing like meth and heroin, and after I got so
Yeah,
that was like not 8 years ago.
I find that's common in a lot of us, like where we we'll start out just trying just something that cross addiction type thing, where it's like, well, this one's not my DOC, so maybe I can get away with it. I've done that in the past. I went to like kratom and it turned into opiates and then meth,
Yep.
But I find that happens a lot. That's one of my issues that I've had with AA and NA.
Yeah.
And I love those programs. I know they have helped a lot of people. My brother's one of them. I say that every time I talk about this. But one of my issues is it's in the book, after I get upset about some of the parts, people say read the doctor's opinion, and I have read the doctor's opinion. It's wrong. It is wrong, 100% medically deemed wrong. Every medical
Proven.
association in the world will tell you it is not an allergy. I don't know why we can't update this in the book. It would help people. And the problem is when us as addicts, we're always looking for any excuse to use. And so we read in this book, I have an allergy. Well, if I'm allergic to a type of fruit, it doesn't mean I'm allergic to all fruit. Yeah, if I'm allergic to strawberries, doesn't mean I
True,
can't eat
yeah.
oranges, right? So I got
Got
friends
some
that'll
oranges over here, dog.
they'll come. Yeah, actually
Maybe
does.
you're
He brought us
allergic
a
to
little fruit.
kiwis.
But it's like, it doesn't mean that I can't eat, apples. And the same thing will go with like, if I'm my allergies to heroin, doesn't mean I can't use alcohol, And so then people will go
I see what
drink,
you're
and
saying
then all of
now.
a sudden, boom, they're back using again because the issue was never the substance because we don't have an allergy to a substance. We have an impulse control disease that's proven.
caused by the mostly. I mean, with a lot of people. Yeah. No,
It's
like
a genetic disease where you're either born with it or not, and there's a lot more people that have the disease than people that use drugs, because the drugs, is a symptom. Other symptoms could be, wanting to go do risky things, risky sex, adrenaline rushes, anything basically that gets gambling, anything that gets the dopamine going. But then when we use drugs, it numbs our prefrontal cortex, where all of our characteristics, morals, personality is. And when that's numbed, our midbrain takes over with the impulse control, where our fight, freeze, or fuck is. And, so our other instinct of youth comes in, and then that's all that's going, but that's my rant. I'll get off that.
No, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You're in you do a program, right?
Yeah, I do.
You don't have to say the name of it if you don't want to.
I mean, I'm in AA, but okay. I totally agree, because like I'm like, when in all these programs, all these places I've been, like I've had to, in one of them, actually the precursor, it's like I had to like memorize. We listened to like Dr. Kevin McCauley like on tape, and he would talk about like, it was a disease model, or it was like in it, and I learned like everything. And I know, like I agree with the spiritual. For me, it's like a spiritual disease, but it's also a physical disease, and I know that it's like
it literally is
biological.
When an addict dies, they can cut up in the brain and see the part of the brain that has been affected by the disease. It is actually a physical. I know
they can see it now.
Yeah.
I've gone into before about if you go in somewhere, because people are like, well, because you can't see it while the person's alive, then it can't be a thing, and it's like, well, if you go into a doctor's office right now and you're like, dude, I got diabetes, I think, or whatever. That's not going to be the first thing that they say. They're going to look at you, and they can't just look at your pancreas and be like, oh, you're right, a shitty pancreas. Like, it's not producing. You got a shit pancreas. I can see it right there. It's not producing the insulin. No, they're going to be like, your blood glucose levels are off. You're having trouble when you eat candy. You're, sugar rushes. You're passing out. You're getting dizzy all the time. That they're going to see the symptoms, and then they're going to go from the symptoms and run some tests and do different things, and eventually find, and eventually they can physically see, you got a shitty pancreas.
Yeah.
But the same thing for an addict. We go into the doctor's office and we're like, hey, I'm fucking stealing shit a lot. And weirdest thing, I can't stop using heroin. Yeah. Weird. And
just see from needles and shit.
Nice.
Let me just check your brain.
Strangest thing, I decided to have sex without a condom multiple times.
Oh yeah, every time.
With a chick that I knew had HIV. But it's that kind of shit that we do. It's the impulse. And
why do you think addicts are so poor with money management?
Yeah, they see shit. It's like, dude, Amazon has wrecked addicts, bro.
Yeah, man.
You can just order everything,
and
it's instant. I don't even have to leave the house to get food.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, because that's deliverable too.
Fucking A.
But
excuse me.
No, dude, that's all you want.
All you want, dude.
Yeah. So you do, and you are right. There is I've noticed too, like a spiritual aspect, and like finding a purpose for me has been, making me feel like I can contribute to society, and it's like that's helped a big difference in my life, and for you found that in AA, which is beautiful. What kind of things has the program done for you? Or are you doing the program that's keeping you sober?
So for me, it's fellowship. I mean, I'm involved in young people.
Facts.
I'm in AOKPA, and that has been a life changer, because I always have somewhere to go, hang out. I mean, I have a lot of people I can talk to, and that, I mean, I think that's where the heart of, like, I think that's why people benefit from it. I mean, in part, I mean, like.
The fellowship alone, like Hood brought up that study the one time with the rats. It's called the Stanford study, I believe. And he's laughing.
He might be wrong
because no, it is because I called it the Harvard study or some shit one time. I'm an idiot, but it's the Stanford study where they had the mice, and they had these mice they had the option between food or cocaine, and the mice chose cocaine over and over till they died, right? But then they took different mice. They took a set of different mice, and
they went the same mice.
They took these different mice.
They
put
reanimated the dead mice.
Oh shit! Yeah.
They called Dr. Frankenstein. He brought them back to life. But they put these mice in a place where they had an environment. Other rat friends. They had wheels to run on, social shit, and all of a sudden the rats no longer chose the cocaine. And like you're saying, NA or AA, it's been that for you. It's been the place where you've gone where you can fellowship. You have a group of people around you. Sober living's kind of done that for me. But that's awesome, man. And what kind of stuff do you guys do when you're fellowshipping? Where do you guys go out anywhere? Do you?
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. What do we do this weekend? Oh man.
You got the fucking sound bath healing.
That's unrelated. That's actually it's in Laguna Beach. It's a meditation mystical shack thing. Whatever, it's a chakra shack. That's the name of the place. Not shack. It's a store called the Chakra Shack, but it's not a shack.
Gotcha. I think I know what you're talking about. I've heard of these places.
But,
the
they make a lot of money on selling all kinds of random crap. It's good stuff.
Some
though.
dude's
Hold on.
backyard.
No.
I don't really know where it is.
Bunch of, like,
I just know that
rocks
they
and shit in
take
it.
Sharon's She Shed.
Yeah.
All right, James.
Sharon,
I want to hear about this place. What is it about? What do they do?
It's pretty cool. They have a lot of meditation crystals. They got like sage. They have like on the full moon, like tomorrow, I guess a full moon. They're gonna have a sound bath. They have all kinds of kind of like mystical stuff, and it's really cool. They got like Buddha
It's like
statues.
Spiritual ceremony.
Stuff.
Okay.
Exactly.
And you guys, do you do this with a group of friends and stuff, or do you go by yourself?
Oh, this is unrelated. This is just a place I found down in Laguna Beach, and I go there just to like buy, like ceremonial, like you said, stuff. But I got all kinds of stuff.
You
here,
find
actually,
that it helps you?
That's cool, man.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's been because I'm trying to transition or like put a lot more emphasis on. I've defined my spirituality and I'm trying to augment it with other things. So I mean, that place. Granted, they are making money selling probably like they sell so many of these stones. They're like $1 a piece.
Those are cool, man.
That place probably makes a lot of money, but at the same
it's
time,
a business.
it's cool,
But,
man. Yeah, exactly.
If it's
not
helping
a
you,
big
then
deal,
that's awesome, man. Cool.
I got a buddy that's a 25-year Army vet, served 6 tours overseas, and he's been shot 6 times too. Survived it. He's a badass, man. And he carried a stone.
50 Cent. Oh, God damn.
But
he lived to tell the story.
He would carry a stone around that he got somewhere kind of like that, and he called it his wusa rock. And when he'd get angry, he'd pull it out. You'd see him in the corner. You'd see him wusa. Nice. But it really calmed this guy down, and let me tell you, he's not a guy you want to see his bad side. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
So that's cool.
Fuck with 50.
Loose change.
Yeah. It's a survivor, dude. That's hardcore, man.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
So what things have you gained in sobriety? I know we all get sober for ourselves because if we don't, everything else is temporary, right? Mm-hmm. But we all want to get stuff out of being sober. That's the whole point. And what things have you gained from being sober, and what things do you hope to gain?
Especially friends. Like I was gonna say, so like we had a game night where we were all playing poker. I mean, a large group of people from all around Orange County and North Orange County. I mean, LA. It's like a huge community of people, and that has been awesome because I thought when I got sober, I wouldn't have. I mean, when I was getting high, I didn't have that. I didn't go out and do shit. I just fucking tweaked out in my room.
Yeah,
and or just connived on getting more drugs. So it wasn't like I didn't go out to bars and have friends. So like, this is like that, except we're drinking Red Bull instead of like alcohol. Yeah, and it's really you'd think that we're drinking, but we're not. So
well, you'd be surprised. I mean, like one of my biggest problems was I have social anxiety. I know.
Yeah, me too.
Doesn't seem like, but I do. It's bad, and my whole life, and I used to when I was drinking. That's what helped me was I could go out and I was able to be social when I was drinking. I'd go play poker and I'd go out and do shit. Once I got to the drugs, man, it's just I just wanted to be inside. I didn't want anybody to see me. And, you know what
crazy
I mean?
though because you're one of the most social people I know.
Only because you know me. When you first met me, what I do, I stayed up in that room for weeks, and but it's like it's that thing where it was my crutch to be able to even be around people, and so I thought when I got sober, there's no way I'm going to be able to get, but I can, I can be around people. I can. It's just it's taken like therapy and like I have a mentor. I do go to some meetings sometimes. I love the fellowship of those meetings. I love it. I love the people of these groups. They're amazing people, and they all want to help one another. Like you don't find that anywhere else. You can go to one of these meetings and need anything, and at the drop of a hat, that. People will give you their couch for the night if you need it. You know what I mean? I mean, these are some of the most giving groups I've ever been around.
You know, it's because we've all been there.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we're able to feel that compassion for other people and empathy. And once you've been to that bottom yourself, I feel like it's a lot easier to put yourself in someone else's shoes that's experiencing that.
Yeah, well,
Damn,
I've seen it from you personally, Hoodie. I had a client relapsed, and in our place, you know, you got to be out for 3 days, and I didn't know where to send him, and it was late at night. I didn't want to, you know, he couldn't afford a hotel, and so I start calling people, and it's, you know, Hood was the first on my list, and he didn't even question it. All he said was, you know, bring him over.
Hell yeah.
And, you know, took him right in. That's just what we do for each other, you know.
Yeah, and at that time, I didn't want to like be the person that enables someone that's going to perpetuate their problem or make anything worse. My thought process was, if he really just fucked up and made a mistake, and you know, you vouched for him, that's why I took him in.
Yeah, and that's true too. You know, we can't help people that aren't wanting to help, and that was a question that Hood asked. He said, you know, is he remorseful? And that's really what it comes down to, right? You know, when we relapse, it's like, are you remorseful? Because if you're remorseful, you're ready to get clean again or stay sober again.
I just didn't want him to be put out, man. I slept so many nights out in the cold, and it's fucking terrible. And that's a really good excuse to go out and fuck everything up.
Yeah.
Right? So
then you get comfortable, and then it's like you get into, like, that's the worst, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's that's the thing too with like relapse is they are probably going to happen, you know, and it doesn't matter what program you're in. There's no program that can tell you if you do our things you won't relapse, because it's medically that's not right, you know. But the thing is that we can say, you know, if you do this program, this will help you learn how to stay sober, or this will help you, you know, figure things out. And
there is no perfect remedy.
there isn't, you know,
and everyone's different.
And I found that beating myself up when I relapse does nothing for me. And so my last relapse was for 2 hours, you know, and I was able to get right back up. And I find that's kind of what's important. If you can get right back up, then just shake it off, you know. Don't worry about, I relapsed or I only have this many days or anything, you know. Have you found the same things?
Oh man, for me, I have to agree, like, with as far as the idea of like the first step. I mean, I really now, like, I've found personally that I'm powerless, like, genuinely. Like, I've used against my will in sobriety, thinking I had everything in place.
Sober, clear-minded.
Clear-minded. Yeah. I run across some drugs, and before I know it, I'm high, and, like, who knows when it'll end, you know, because that craving begins. And that's one thing I do agree with the big boys, like, that craving. It's like you're
the phenomenon
until you're separated and you can think, like, you're going to keep going, and that's what's happened so many times, so that now time... It's not so much. I mean, it's important that I don't do it. Like, I don't relapse, but it's more of like acknowledging the seriousness of my situation, and that's more important to me than how much time I have, because now my goal is to stay sober. You know, it's more of like I don't know. Like, I feel like. Because I had, like, I agree for sure. I don't beat myself up over using, because it's like, I know that I'm not, it's a disease, you know?
Once you get it in your head that all is lost, you're like, fuck it.
Yeah, it's
and for you, just like it is for me, and just like it is for all of us, it's life and death. That's your situation.
Yeah.
And you have to keep that in mind, and also, you know, well, you don't have to, but I mean, I would suggest it. And, you know, if you do go out, just try to remember, man, it's not the end of the world. It is not.
Yeah.
You know, you can pick yourself right back up and just keep pushing on.
Yeah,
you know?
Definitely. Yeah, my perspective has been, now I realize, like, after these last few times, I realized, like, I didn't intend to. It wasn't because I wanted to, or I had an excuse. It was like, suddenly I'm doing it again, even though I was trying. And it was like, okay, I really have to try really hard to not do this again, because it's like, damn, like, it's not, you know.
So that's the thing.
It's what you're doing about it, though.
It has nothing to do with like I want to stay sober, or I need to stay sober, or, you know, I'm trying to stay so. It's, you know, our actions, we have to, I say we have to, but for myself, you know, what I've learned is that the disease is within the midbrain, right?
Yeah.
And because our want and willpower and everything's in our prefrontal cortex, and that part of our brain works 7 times slower than the midbrain where the disease is.
Yep.
You know, that I can have all the want and willpower in the world. That's not going to keep me sober.
Yeah.
And I try to relate it to like when you're training like a soldier to you take them to boot camp, right? And what do they do there? They break these guys down to where and women, these guys and gals, you know, they break them down to where their prefrontal cortex shuts off. They're deprived of sleep. They're deprived of food. They're droning basically, and that's when they train their instinct, because a normal person's instinct, if firefight breaks out right now, most of us, probably all of us in this room, we're going to book it the other way just out of instinct.
Not
Hoodie. Yeah. No, not Hood. Hood will run right in. But we want to go away. That's just instinct. Well, our brains, our instinct is to use, for anything. For something good happens, like I've had things where, I got a promotion. I want to go use though. I deserve to use.
Celebrate.
I deserve to get high, right? Or I've had times where like I've either lost jobs or I've gone through a divorce, and it's like, well, I'm gonna just use to numb some of this pain. 'Cause it doesn't matter. It's just my instinct.
Or it's
is
like
always
you
to
wake
use.
up and it's Tuesday and you're like, oh, fuck, I guess I'm
Bingo.
using.
Bingo. It's like
fairly overcast outside.
Or it's like I can't bring myself to interact with any other person unless I'm
Absolutely.
loaded.
Yeah.
Anything
Exactly.
and everything can
All
be
day.
a reason or excuse to go do it
And
if it is.
I look at it as I've got to do the same thing as if you were training somebody else's instinct, and maybe our instinct is just happens to be to use drugs, So I'm trying to do things of like those cognitive behavioral therapy. I've been working on a lot of that, where you kind of shut off everything around you to where just your brain, when you're not thinking, chooses to do things a different way, And so I don't know. I don't have the answers. I mean, I know I spout off a lot on here, but I don't have the answers. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm not telling anybody what they should or shouldn't do. I can only express what's worked for me and what hasn't. And then also the things that I know are facts, the medical issues, the medical part of it. I know that.
Which
I can
is
express
huge.
that, which is big.
Once
people
we
need to hear that.
and all acknowledge that,
Yeah.
I think there can be some changes made that haven't been made yet.
Well,
That'll be
that's-
crucial. We're losing way too many people right now.
Way too many people, man. I mean, and I know it's a sensitive question, but have you lost? I'm sure people in sobriety, in
Yeah,
addiction?
man. A lot of people, man. And I'm not going to say I'm like, it hasn't been anybody. Well, yeah, man, I've lost a lot of people, like, and one just recently I found out about, dude. Like, I just don't check Facebook very often, but a guy that I went to one of these programs with when I was like younger, while I was in high school, it was like an outpatient, similar to like, well, it's like an outpatient, but for teenagers. So like we had outings and kind of similar to
Teen
this
Challenge?
like free. No, this was in Texas. This was like
It was bigger and better.
it was called an alternative peer group. Yeah, it's where they started. Yeah, so they
Mega
started
Teen
these there.
Challenge.
Yeah, no, not. I've heard Teen Challenge is like kind of. This was like they try to get you to do fun stuff, but they put you around a bunch of other drug addicts, which in the end I don't think it works out for maybe some people, and then others like my friend. So, like I didn't stay sober through that, but it gave me some experience with the steps.
Wait,
though.
so they just hook you up with a bunch of people
People that,
who like use like you?
Yeah, but you're all like sober at the time, and you go to these events.
Oh,
like
okay. I see.
you go to therapy every week. Like
Yeah.
like 3
I
times
see.
a week.
Sounds like
You
my
go up
military
there. Yeah,
school.
like after. Yeah, well, it was like you go to school during the day. I actually went to a rehab school where they like let you smoke cigarettes at like 13 and like PE.
What? They're like, we're gonna let you break the law.
Fuck yeah.
No, dude, at 13.
You really know how to break
Bro,
the
it's
law.
either cigarettes or like
No,
intravenous heroin. Like,
I know.
What do you want, bro?
dude, yeah. Well, like we would go for PE.
So
it was like
what's the
smoke.
one thing more addictive than heroin? That. Let's let them use that.
All right.
No, they would.
You go to PE?
Yeah, they would take us out to PE, and that was walking through the park near the school and smoking cigarettes, and then going back to class where we did nothing. It was like an actual high school. But anyway, so
And so this is
was like
the place
daycare.
that you and your friend went that you're talking.
no, actually, I met him somewhere else. But like this
gotcha.
was it was like daycare basically. But so. I found out like 2 years ago, man. He died, dude. I didn't even
sorry.
know, bro. Yeah, and it
Overdose?
was like,
Oh,
and
man,
I didn't
I'm sorry.
I didn't even know. No, well, yeah, I mean, but But I just found out the other day. I was like, damn, that's crazy, man. Like, and I hadn't seen him in like 10 years, you know, but
I had a friend, I'm sorry to cut you off, but the reason I made that statement about losing too many people is because it's all the time. It's constant for me, dude. Right. I had a friend from back home about a week and a half ago. He's gone. One of my best friends that I grew up with just texted me yesterday morning and told me his cousin passed from an overdose.
Sorry,
it's fucking everywhere, dude, and it's insane to me.
It's all over.
Something has to happen.
And it blows my mind that the funding just isn't there for people to get the help that we all need. That's one of the reasons we started this podcast. It's like there's no funding there, you know, and I do want to get to why I was asking that question, or what I was going to ask, and I want to ask both of you guys this, since you both have recently lost somebody, is because you both stayed sober through the experience of losing somebody, but what is it like being sober but knowing the pain of being in addiction, in active addiction, and knowing that somebody went down to that pain? What was that like for you, and how did you stay sober through hearing about your friend?
Well, for me, staying sober, it's about my routine, and I don't have. I mean, I work the steps, you know, and I work
Sorry, it's that much.
I can hear myself, but okay, yeah. So like, I work the steps, and in that process, I genuinely have no craving to use. If I think about using, it's like it just doesn't have an appeal. I can play the tape through pretty easily.
Good.
So that's, you know, but
I will say it's the opposite for me. I have cravings every day. I do. I just they're there. But like you said, I just I have an action plan for them. You know, like you do as well. And I don't know. I don't know if they'll ever go away from me, but I do. I have them every.
It's on and off for me. Everyone's different.
Yeah.
But it's. I feel like it's going to go away for you eventually, and maybe not permanently, but you're going to have days where you don't, man.
Yeah, but I plan for both, you know, and that's, absolutely. I just want to say, because you were saying how you kind of have an action plan for, you know, to keep that away.
Yeah, I mean, so when I hear about stuff like that, my solution doesn't go to using. I mean, and for me, it is a spiritual solution, and I mean, that's because
that's beautiful.
I believe that's what needed to take place just for me to even have the thought of getting sober or stopping. And it's crazy that, I mean, the obsession for me has been removed. You know, I mean, it may sound crazy, but it's true. I don't have, and somebody actually was talking about it in a meeting last night. Like, it sounds like, you know, magic, whatever, and it sounds ridiculous, but he's like, that's literally what happened for me. And it's like, that's what's happened for me. I don't live and breathe AA. But I've been in this program since I was like 15, so I guess I kind of do. But
I have a question. Was it, how long did it take for that to go away for you? And what was it particularly, if you can think of, that took it away? Like what I know you were saying spiritual, but like what? Like, I don't. Will you tell me? Will you define that? Will you define spiritual for me?
So for me, it means that something. It literally means like accepting for me that I'm fucked. I have this disease. I'm not. Like my frontal, like you said, I can want, and my willpower and my decision making isn't involved. It's my instincts, my midbrain that's involved with my disease. So it becomes not about something I'm really doing consciously. It's literally been something for me and I have a pretty I've been enlarged my spiritual life or whatever, and I just don't. It just doesn't. It's crazy that's happened, and I know a lot of people say they have to get to a certain step before that, but
no, I guess
I don't know.
My question more is like the spiritual awakening. Could you define? Is there? And you don't have to. I'm just, if there's any way that you could define it. Or,
I don't think that happens as the result of working the steps. It's not like a rigid. Yeah, it's not like a rigid formula for something. I think a spiritual awakening is for me just having enough coincidences and weird. I mean, I believe in a collective consciousness, you know, and I think that there is something that we can't see necessarily, but we're connected. They're yourself. Like the vibes, you know, all that sort of stuff. And it's more of just an awareness, of a general awareness of what we can see and feel and everything. That's not all there is, you know. I mean, I have faith, and that's
sounds like you've gotten to a point
things.
where you love yourself.
Yeah, and I've done a lot of psychedelics too, and I'm not saying that's but that's helped.
Here's
honestly.
the thing: psilocybin, particularly, it literally expands your prefrontal cortex for a moment, and you, to me, if that's the part of the brain that we're numbing for so long, and I've never experienced with any hallucinogenics, but I don't knock anybody for doing it, and I've heard of people that it has severely helped them.
Yeah.
You know,
A lot of interesting
MAPS,
studies
bro?
coming out about that.
huge study. What's that?
Have you heard of MAPS?
MAPS.
I have. I don't
should
remember
talk
what
about
it is, but I
MAPS one
know
day.
someone just was
We-
talking about
We'll
this.
talk
the other
about
day.
MAPS.
You want to talk about that on the Three Amigos?
Let's do it.
On
We'll
Wednesday?
talk about
All right.
it.
All right.
All right.
Sure.
You're going to lead that
I think it's going to
episode
be
then.
Tres Hombres.
So
Nice.
the reason that I do ask these questions, one of the things while doing the podcast, I am searching for, because like I said, I don't have the answers, and I want to stay sober, so I'm always looking for all the different ways, and I know there's other people out there looking for the same thing, and so I like people that something's working for them, for them to be able to share it to other people, and I have heard a lot of like a spiritual awakening, and so. Correct me if I'm wrong. From your definition, it's more of like an understanding that there is something, a power or something out there that's more in control than us. That's bigger than us,
it's more in
and
control. We're a part of, for me, this physical reality, and there's a spiritual undertone or connected reality. But like for me, I'm not in control of my destiny too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm a part of something that's evolving
Right.
and being created or creating, whatever. So it's like, I don't know, man. Some of it's superstition. You have to kind of be like, curious to like believe in like wonder and, like magic kind of in a way. And it does help though. And I'm naturally like,
it's proving it's helping. It's helping you. You're staying sober.
I'm still
And
sober.
I do want to say, it wasn't overnight, right? It's not like you walked in somewhere and then all of a sudden yours was instantaneous.
Mine was literally overnight.
Dude, I know this. Dude. Yeah, I believe
Exception to the
guy
rule.
is
Look at
like,
this unicorn over
The
here.
only reason I
I
point
swear,
out
dude.
I
I'll tell you
believe
about it later.
overnight.
No, I totally believe this. He's like,
Let me hear it. I gotta hear this.
Okay,
now.
so
Because hold on, before you say this, I do want to say the reason I always try to point out that because you're the first person that I've heard say it wasn't
Really?
overnight, or that it was overnight, and the reason that I really want to hear this is because I've seen too many people go into like a meeting or go into church or go into a treatment center,
Once,
and then the next
it didn't
day be
work.
like, "Why didn't it work?" And they're hearing these people, and they're like, "It didn't work,"
I see.
And for me, it's taking a long time. It feels like it's dragging on.
You also have no patience
But I
because you're a drug
don't.
addict
That's
and struggle with impulse control.
But I gotta hear this. Dude, go on. Let me hear.
okay, so that's interesting that you said like they go to a meeting and they expect something, because my spiritual awakening happened before I even got to AA, like before I went to a meeting. I was in the hospital, like 5150, do you know what I'm saying? Just fucked
Of course
off.
you were.
It's probably like day 6, day 7, and I'm just in there and like
What
the first...
Hold on, wait. What did they 5150 you for? The call was
Psychosis.
There's this guy that thinks he's having a spiritual
Psychosis
awakening.
is real, man.
Bring him in.
The awakening happened in the hospital.
Okay.
I was like tripping
After
like,
you got some sleep,
psychosis
or-
type shit. What
No.
was that?
After you got some sleep? You're in psychosis.
'Cause you were in
get
psychosis?
Did you get some sleep first?
Oh,
before
yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Like I said, this was like a few days into... So like I
Being
get to
there.
the hospital. I'm there for like 5 days. And in those 5 days, like I'm coming off the psychosis. They're giving me meds and like they're bringing me down, trying to even me out. And I'm just like, I'm still tripping, dude. Because like in my soul, like deeply, I feel like something's wrong. You know, like I can't really tell what, but I know that like for some reason what I'm trying to do, which is like use drugs without anybody fucking with me, that's
can't we
not
just do
working,
that?
dude.
Right?
It's not
Right.
working. So like I'm just super like just going through it and like kind of bipolar in there too, you know, like I'm crying some days, I'm happy some other days, and like it gets to like day 5 or 6 and I go to sleep and then I wake up like the next day and literally like all those feelings of like fear and hopelessness were gone, and they were replaced with like just a calm sense of like, okay, I know what I have to do.
What do you?
So yeah, I'm in the hospital and like I wake up and I know what I have to do. I don't know from where it came from, but I know that I have to go to AA and like work the steps. That's like what I knew what I had to do, dude. And for me, that was my spiritual awakening. Because before that, I didn't know why my life was so fucked up.
But when
what
I woke up
it
to? It just
that's what I'm saying. I had no idea. It just happened, and like
I can accept that. Yeah.
I've been sober since that day. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm not particularly looking for a reason. You know, like it happened. It worked for me, and like now we're going through it.
That's Dude, in Hinduism or in Buddhism, they say that people that reach enlightenment to come back and become teachers in the next life, or however after they've reached enlightenment, they'll have some instigating or like event that they'll be reborn into a human condition, and they'll come equipped with like an event or a trigger that will reawaken them so that they can help people, you know. And I mean, I'm not, but like there's a lot of spiritual teachings that, you know, like, I don't know, man.
No,
it was literally an event. Like I woke up and I knew that I had fucked my entire life up, like from even before I started using, but like I was the cause of like my own misery.
I think you were Inception.
Oh yeah.
Matter of fact, you're still in it.
I'm not
you're still in it.
That.
You thought this was a recorder in front of us?
Whether or not like
we're in your dreams.
Whether or not it was the government, whether or not it was your dad's fucking mind rays, like the result of what happened on that day is that I haven't had to drink or use.
And that's real, man. That's awesome,
I mean?
dude.
And since then, though, you've gone to a program and you've been working that program, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's been work for you too, though. But
I've done work.
Your spiritual awakening was overnight and instantaneous, right?
Yeah, and it made it so easy, dude. And it's like, I just got to go to AA.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
That's so great, man. That gives me chills, dude. Like, that's awesome. It's like,
yeah, it does to me too. I don't know if that's that it's 107 degrees in here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can I borrow some of this?
Sweat chills.
Yeah. But it is about that time. I would like to ask, if you have any last things you'd like to tell people or something that you know.
So I would say, last words. Man,
it's fine. You don't always have to.
I want to, but I just wish I could think. So as far as last words go,
if somebody was looking, they knew they were struggling with this disease, or they knew there was something wrong, and they can't stop either using or drinking, but they're too nervous to go to treatment because they don't want to be labeled an addict or alcoholic.
Stigma.
Because of the stigma, that you're a bad person and what would you tell somebody in that situation right now? They're sitting there.
So personally, I mean, this is what has helped me is being open-minded to spiritual solutions, not just like, and I don't mean religion or like specific, like Christianity or any like traditional version. I mean, just like, looking into other spiritual solutions, because for me it was through that helplessness and the acknowledgement of how difficult and how impossible it was to stop using that made me willing to believe in anything, to look out, to try to pray to anything. And that was the prompting. That's
brilliant.
It was like that's where it started, because physically I was going to continue carpet surfing or whatever it was. And I had to pray.
Carpet surfing.
Dude, or like cardboard. Yeah, man. I mean,
you ever smoke Krispy Kreme glaze?
Yes. Dude, shot up. Yeah, probably.
Candle wax.
It was in...
All right. No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut that off.
It was in that, that moment of desperation that actually made you willing to just open your eyes to anything.
Yeah.
And that's what helped you. So you're saying if somebody's in that situation,
just pray to something, man. And that's anything. For me. Yeah. And that suddenly, like, the next thing was just one more thing that kind of directed me. It was like I'd run into someone. I mean, like, there have been some really cool events. But that's one thing I would say is to just be open minded to that.
That's perfect, man.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Thank you, James Green, for coming on the show, man.
Thanks,
and last minute too, and you just that's another thing I love about AA is those guys. You guys are always willing to help out.
Oh yeah, man. And, I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on. And as always, I got my co-host Brian Hoodie.
That's me.
Don't call him Sweatshirt.
Don't do it.
And Miles Williams.
Yes, sir.
Our audio engineer. Thank you. Good night. I'm Saul Jones. See you later.
That was nice.
What you got in that sack? looking tough, like you ain't coming back. Hey little Sammy, when are you going to fly? Times are rough, people get tough, but you got the stuff